The man who wasn't there. It started like any other night. I was just a regular guy living in a regular life in a regular town. I worked a 9 to 5, had a small circle of friends, and never thought much about the strange things that happened around me. Sure, there were rumors about the old house at the end of Maple Street, the one everyone in town whispered about, but I never gave it much thought. It was just a house, after all, right? Until the night he showed up. I'll never forget that evening. It was the kind of cold winter night when the air feels like it could slice through you. The kind of night when you feel like something is just wrong, like you are being watched, but when you look around there's nothing at all. I was sitting at home, scrolling through my phone when I got a text from my best friend, David. He was always sending me weird messages late at night, but this one was different. It wasn't just a meme or some random thought. This one felt urgent. "Hey, are you alone right now?" I replied, confused but curious. "Yeah, why?" "Good. Stay in your house. Don't go outside. Lock your doors." I laughed, assuming he was joking. "Come on, man, what's going on?" "I'll explain later. Just stay in. Whatever you do, don't go near the window." I rolled my eyes, tossing my phone aside. I wasn't about to let some random text make me paranoid, but then something strange happened. I heard it. A soft tapping sound. At first, I thought it was the wind or the trees brushing against the side of the house, but as the tapping continued, I grew uneasy. It was rhythmic, deliberate, almost like someone trying to get my attention. I stood up, moving toward the window instinctively, but something held me back. My heart raced as a gut-wrenching feeling of dread washed over me. I froze. A shadow flickered outside my window. I couldn't see who it was, but I could see the outline of a figure standing there, just out of view. It wasn't moving, just standing there, staring. I swallowed hard and backed away from the window, heart pounding in my chest. The tapping grew louder, more frantic, more insistent, like nails scraping against glass. My phone buzzed again. "Do not look outside. You are not seeing what you think you're seeing." I stared at the message for what felt like an eternity. My fingers shook as I typed back. "What's happening, David? Who's out there?" No response. I stood frozen, my breath shallow, staring at the window. I could feel it, the pressure, like something was pushing against the glass from the other side, something unnatural. The tapping stopped, and in the silence that followed I heard something else. A voice. It was faint at first, like a whisper through the walls, but it wasn't a voice that belonged to any person I knew. It sounded distorted, hollow, as if it came from far away, or worse, from nowhere. "Come closer." I felt my blood run cold. Then it got worse. The doorbell rang. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Who in their right mind would be out here in the middle of the night, in this weather? I glanced through the peephole, but saw nothing. I hesitated, my pulse quickening. Slowly I opened the door, but the moment I did, a cold gust of wind swept in, like something was pushing against the house from the other side. There was no one there, but on the doorstep lying in the snow was a small, tattered envelope. No address, no name, just a single symbol drawn on the front. A spiraling circle that sent an icy chill through my veins. I picked it up with trembling hands and opened it. Inside was only a single line of text, written in dark ink that almost seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. "He's coming, it's too late, you let him in." I froze. At that exact moment, the tapping outside the window returned, but this time it wasn't on the glass. It was coming from the inside. I spun around, heart pounding in my chest, but there was nothing, no one there, just the dark, empty house and the feeling that someone was moving around me. And then it happened. The lights flickered and a cold, clammy hand grabbed my shoulder from behind. I whipped around expecting to see David, expecting to see someone, anyone, but there was nothing. Just empty hair, just darkness. But the hand, the pressure lingered, frozen in place as if someone had left their touch behind, their presence lingering long after they had gone. A voice, no longer a whisper but a full-fledged guttural growl, echoed in my ears. "You let him in." I spun toward the door, my breath coming in sharp, frantic gasp. There was nothing I could do. The air was thick with the smell of decay, of rot, and something worse, something ancient. The walls seemed to close in on me, the shadows warping and twisting, becoming something far darker than I had ever imagined. And then I saw him. He stood in the doorway, just beyond the threshold, in the corner of my vision. His figure was tall, distorted, unnatural, like a person trying to take shape but failing miserably. His body was made of shadows, his face a blank void, an absence of anything human. His skin stretched too thin, his arms too long, his fingers curling like claws. I wanted to scream, but my voice was gone. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I could feel his presence, the weight of him pressing against me like a crushing force. He was inside now. He had always been inside. And I let him in. I stumbled backward, my mind racing, trying to grasp reality, but everything around me was warping. The walls bled into the floor into the ceiling. Nothing made sense. The house was no longer my home. It was something else, something alive, something that had changed. I glanced at the phone in my hand. The screen flickered and showed a text message, a new message from David. But when I opened it, the message was from someone else, someone I didn't know. "Run, he's inside." But it was too late. I had always been too late. The figure in the doorway stepped forward, his presence swallowing the light, casting everything into an endless night. I felt his hand wrap around my throat, cold as death itself. His fingers dug into my skin, and I could feel the life being drained from me, pulled into the darkness. My body went numb, my thoughts faded. The last thing I saw before everything went black was the symbol from the envelope, etched into the doorway, pulsing with a sickening glow. I was never seen again. The house was abandoned shortly after, but the stories didn't stop. People say it's still there, still waiting, still watching, and some claim to hear the tapping at night, the tapping of a figure who never left, the figure who wasn't there.